Jay Money, 11 years later, back on So Money.
Wow.
Can you believe it? I'm so glad, first
Has
of
it been
all,
11
it's
years?
been 11 years. But some
Wow.
things don't change, including your mohawk.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's
It's a little
still there.
smaller.
I'm so happy to see that. The world has changed in so many ways, but in other ways not.
The
How are
mohawk's still
you?
there.
What are you doing? What did you do this week? Okay, let's like forget the last 10 years. Like, how are you using your time these days?
Well, I could tell you right now, I just got back from being out in the glorious sun after a crazy winter on the East Coast, as you know. And I started a nonprofit giving away free clothes and essentials to people living in the streets, in the woods, lower
Ah,
income families. And on Tuesdays, we go out and we give it out into the market, free food, and I set up clothes. And so I spent the last 2, 3 hours here right before hopping on, giving clothes to the community. It's something that never saw myself doing, but here we are, and it's fun. I love it. It brings me joy, it brings other people joy. And a lot of people have a lot of extra stuff. That is what I've learned.
yeah, and a
And
lot of people
so
need help, that's for sure. But
a
I
lot of
have to
people.
say, I could see you doing this. You have always struck me as somebody who is very kind and generous and thoughtful and like wants to
Thanks.
serve and be helpful. And
Yeah.
so you may think this isn't what you envision, but I can see you out there, hugging people and handing them shirts and having
I
conversations.
gave a lot of hugs today.
I bet you
Yes,
did.
that's
I bet you
funny.
did.
That is funny.
Well, catch us up because for those
Yeah.
who I always say, like, this year has been incredible for this podcast because I feel like without really forcing it, I've had a lot of people on who were on like 10 or 11 years ago. So this show
Wow.
is actually 11 years this
Wow.
year. And you were
Beautiful.
one of my first guests because you and I kind of grew up in this money blogging,
Yeah.
blogosphere world before there was Instagram and before there
Yeah.
was TikTok and AI and all the things. And so
Wow.
tell us a little bit about the origins of J Money and Rockstar Finance, which I know isn't
Whew.
entirely where you're spending your time these days, but it was a significant chapter in your life and you
Yeah.
impacted so many people with this.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Yeah, I mean the short story is back in what 2007, 2008, my fiance and I at the time were looking for a place to rent basically, and I actually stumbled across a house for sale, which I had no money, I had no budget. Like I didn't know what I was doing, right? I was in my 20s and I'm like everyone says to buy a house, so we said let's buy a house, right?
Yeah.
Within 48 hours of seeing this place. And then I said, well, we need to figure money stuff out. And I've just been even. I'd never been really good or bad, just kind of in the middle. And I stumbled across like people talking about money online. But not only that, they were like showcasing, like, here's my net worth, here's my savings, my debt, my investments. And that just like I was just sucked in for months, just reading and consuming. And I was learning. And then I found out that that got me to take action versus reading, a normal website or corporation talking about, the same boring stuff that we all know, right? And that's what I've come to learn. Like we all know what to do, but it's like somehow getting motivated to do it. And so one day I said, oh, I'm going to talk about, saving money, drinking beer. And I'm going to, I don't obviously wear a shirt and tie and have the most normal haircut and all that stuff. So I just started blogging and I didn't spell check. I did, oh man, going back. I mean, you can still read the articles. I mean, there's over 3,000 of them from 2008. But it kind of blew up just because I guess I was talking like a normal person and I was trying to make jokes and just, and I was learning along the way. And of course, the first thing I did was share my own net worth at the time. I think it was like 30 or 40,000. And so we said, all right, well, here we go. And I just started doing it every month up into, I think I went 15 years blogging. And I think I had stopped sharing the net worth when we crossed $1 million.
Mm.
I'd sold the blog to Motley Fool eventually when I was done. And they gave me a chunk of money. They said, great, keep blogging and we'll pay you a salary. And I thought, this is crazy, right? Like I'm getting money just for doing what I'm doing. And so then eventually I tapered off. And then they actually didn't do too well with it. And they said, hey, do you just want the blog back?
Oh my
Just give me
God.
a little money. Like I paid for it, but it was like pennies to the dollar. And they're like, we want you to keep it again. Like just archive it, do whatever. And so I've kind of just blogging on and off. Sometimes I go 5 or 6 months without writing anything. And then some days I'm inspired and I write. So it's back to me owning it again.
Oh my gosh.
But like just different, phase of
Yeah.
life now.
Well, I want to kind of zoom in on that period. That's interesting. It's kind of like you said, like it's the dream, like someone for some, right? An acquisition, like some sort of
Yeah.
exit, because you get into like the creator space and you don't really know what's next. And you just like, am I just going to be like blogging forever? Am I going to be TikToking forever? What do you think? You just said the words like I kind of tapered off. You kind of like maybe
Yeah.
lost some interest. Like what was going on in your life? I feel like I'm in that place a
Yeah.
little bit some days where I'm like, how many more days can I talk about 529 plans? How many more years in me do I have? But I always try to keep it fresh. My audience, I say they keep me on my toes. They tell
Yeah.
me what's where to go. And I feel like that's worked for me because I can't be here and think I have all the answers. And I certainly don't want to be
Yeah.
talking about finance every day. But luckily, they keep changing the 529 laws. So there's always something new to say.
There you go.
But did you have that moment in you, like a voice that was like, "What else am I put on this planet to do?"
Yeah, I think it was probably just a combination of things. Like I definitely felt like I've said everything, like I was starting to repeat myself and stuff, and I wasn't as creative. Like I look back at some of my first stuff I was writing, I was like, man, that guy, like he just says anything he wants. Like, oh, I love that. He's just so raw. And as you go and as you know, if you phrase things a certain way and SEO started coming into play and it was all
Yeah.
this stuff where I want to say it this way, but then
Uh,
there's consequences and less people would see it. But if I say it this way, more people would say it, but they're not, and so I started to get into my head over the years,
yeah.
and I feel like it wasn't as fun as it was. And I think that the main thing that ended up happening was in the beginning I didn't know what I was doing really, which made it fun. And so I was learning, and my net worth was lower, right? And then once it started to taper upwards, and this was across, again, 10 or 15 years, I noticed like the audience and just the people that were coming wasn't, oh, please help me get out of debt. Oh, like we're in this thing together. It was now like either how do I make even more wealth? Like talk about wealth and I want more and more money.
Ah,
And it started became a little bit more like not icky because it's fine, but it was just like a different type of audience was changing. And the people that were new, they're like, oh, I like your style, but I cannot relate, even though I tried to be relatable. And oh man, you're just bragging. Like I had all this hate
oh,
that's like, you're bragging about your money, like, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this is so weird because, I'm in my brain, I'm just still like that same person.
yeah,
But it changes, and like when social media came out, like that, like not people weren't as like reading
yeah,
long form articles. Like they'd see a clip of me saying, "Here's my net worth," and they wouldn't read anything, and so it was just like that guy over there, that a-holes,
yes,
like
yes.
so it was like all this weird thing, and I was like, maybe what would it look like if I
That's
wasn't, you
interesting.
know,
Because on the one hand,
yeah,
I completely understand what you're saying. I think that our attention spans have diminished, and that's in part
yeah,
thanks to being distracted with so much, but also the social media ness of it and like the quick hits. And, they even say like when you're making a reel on Instagram, you need a hook. If you can't draw the person in like a millisecond,
yeah,
forget it. And that doesn't make it fun, right? You got to think about like, how do I
yeah,
just say the craziest thing first or show the craziest footage first?
right,
But at the same time, you're also seeing a resurgence of long form writing. And maybe we called it blogging in the early 2000s. Now we've got
mhm,
platforms like Substack and even just the good old fashioned email. That's how
yeah,
we reconnected. You read one of my
yeah,
emails and replied to
yeah,
it. And I
that's
do
right,
think that that is still a place to be and a place to want to learn, like reading, right? Oh, long form. But it's
yeah.
interesting how in the middle of that transition, I feel like we've kind of gone back to blogging in a bit, but in a new, like it's got to be, but for the modern audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny too, is my son at the time when I started blogging, he wasn't even born yet. And now he's 13. So I guess he came in a couple years in and he knows about blogging and he saw me doing stuff and thought it was cool. But all of a sudden, I don't know if it's his age, like he's obsessed with cologne. Him and all
Oh,
his friends, they love
wait,
cologne.
he's
I've never,
13?
he's 13.
Yes. My son's
Yeah.
11 and he wants cologne.
Okay.
It's gonna be 12.
Okay.
He wants,
Okay.
he's like, it's like that tween teen. Yeah. I'm like, really? And my
Yeah.
husband
So
doesn't
it's,
wear cologne. I don't know. It's just, it's a boy thing.
yeah. But which is fine. Like, I'm glad he's into something that's like not like crazy, right?
Crack
But
cocaine. Yeah.
now he's like, we finally allowed him to get onto YouTube. And I was like, okay, like,
Oh,
because it's just, especially as a kid, it gets weird. And now he's making these little shorts that are just about, it's him filming Cologne. and it's like a little review or trying to be funny.
Oh my
And
gosh.
like his last one, he only been doing it for like 2 weeks. And his last one within like 30 minutes had like 2,000 views. And I'm
What?
like, who's watching these ridiculous little
My
things?
God.
And
You
so
know,
now I could see his brain though, right? Because he's like, oh, if I keep doing this, and I could tell he's getting, and this is how I was in anyone when you create and you get an audience, it like consumes you and you like want more likes, more and more. You just like,
yes.
shh. And
Oof.
so I'm like,
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out like, I don't want to throttle him. I want to encourage him, and
Right.
I could see him being an influencer in colognes as a kid, you know.
I
But
love it.
I know the like the craziness that comes with it too, right? Like,
Well, especially
and at
like
13, you don't have those barriers and the smarts to deal with it, you know.
no, but he is so smart because also cologne or perfume, it's hard to sell that online, right? Because you
Like,
can't
yes,
smell it.
yeah,
Like
that's true.
however he's introducing this to his audience, like
Right.
this is a study for me. I need to go on his YouTube and like learn his skills. My
That's
God.
true. You can't smell. I never thought about that.
Well, because like all
Maybe
these
one
like
day.
perfume commercials, they're selling a lifestyle, right? It's
Yeah,
like
that's right.
a love scene or whatever. It's the promise of when you
Yeah.
wear this.
Well, and he included me in one of the last ones. He was like, it was like some trend where you see what your dad is wearing. And I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I don't
Oh
even
my
know
God. Oh
what
my
he
God.
is. And so he's like
That's
talking
so,
about it.
I love it. I love it. Like you said, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
And he's learning a lot about, you know, early entrepreneurship. And I think it goes
Yeah.
back to what you were saying earlier about when you got acquired and now it's really about the metrics. Like
Yeah.
that, for someone who got into it for the creativity and for the sharing and for that, I can see where there
Yeah.
was some dissonance there. And
Yeah.
so now, we're both in midlife and we've experienced a few things. We've got
Hmm.
kids that are growing up. We've also accumulated wealth,
Yeah.
because we followed our own advice, I suppose. How has
Yeah.
your perspective on all the things that you're writing about when you were in your
Yeah.
20s and 30s, how's that changed? Because I was just on Mr. Money Mustache's blog,
Oh
and
man,
he's also
classic.
kind of like tapered off a bit. He's writing
Yeah.
like once in a while. I'm sure his
Yeah.
website makes a killing still.
Yeah.
But he's even talked about how when now that he's like quote unquote wealthy, people don't even want to hear from him anymore. He's
Huh.
almost like he's disqualified himself in a way. He's doing
Yeah.
fine though, let's just be clear. But yeah, there is that mindset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I think for me too, like when I started, I was one of those people that was like, I just want money. I want to be a millionaire. That is cool. If you're a millionaire, you could do whatever you want and buy whatever you want, right? Even though we know like millionaires save money and they don't spend and they live frugal. Like you didn't like people really don't want that lifestyle, and that at least small millionaire. And I think now over the years, actually I was thinking about this yesterday that I was writing. I started to write a post that like money, the ironic thing is like money to me gives you the ability to not think about money anymore or care about money anymore.
Mhm.
For me, the best thing is like going to like a restaurant and ordering what I want to eat at that time. Like I don't have to look at price. Like I just want to eat whatever you want to eat, and it could be something small or big. It doesn't matter. But not having to worry or think about budget or anything. That to me was like a huge perk. And then even when your car breaks down and it's like that's annoying, but then you kind of forget about it because you have the money. It's not going to derail you, or you can't get your
Yes.
work. You can't like it doesn't kill. So to me, like and that's mainly why I don't blog anymore. I'm like I don't. I'll just say the same things over and over again, which is I don't think about money, but that's because I thought about money for, a good chunk of my life and I paid attention and I hustled. So like, I'm glad the old me did all that. I can't see myself doing that now. But on the other side, now I can do stuff like, and the blog started this way. I had a full-time job and I was just writing for fun. And I think what I learned as an entrepreneur is that like, if something starts taking off, like you just keep feeding it and doing it and on a roll until it doesn't make sense anymore. And like with this free closet that I'm doing now, I just put out some clothes one day when I was volunteering at a market, like totally not like meaning to do anything. And the weeks came and other people like, I'll give you clothes to give away. And then people started expecting clothes when they came to the market.
Oh,
And I thought, oh my gosh, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, I'm not trying to I wasn't trying to give myself a job, right? Like I was
yeah.
trying to enjoy quote financial freedom, right? But I was tired of going to the coffee shop all day and just doing nothing, like we can't just sit around
Yeah.
and do nothing.
I really admire that. I really admire your openness to pivot and, see like overhear something else is working
Yeah.
and, and going with that momentum. I think sometimes we want things to last way past their expiration date. tell me about
Yeah.
free, it's called
Yeah, it's just a
free
free
closet. Okay, free closet. I love it.
closet, nice and simple. And it's interesting because after I sold the blog and stuff, I was like, I'm gonna take a break from online, right? Because like it's all 24/7 all over the world. And so I got offline really. Then I started giving clothes and I was like, crap, I need to get like I need an infusion of clothes every week if I'm going to be giving stuff away. Like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, dude, you got to be on Facebook. I'm like, Facebook? That's like, come on. And so I was like, fine, I'll do Facebook. Fine, I'll create Instagram. Those are like the two places apparently local people go. But it's interesting. So it's so high. Like, I could have like 100 followers versus like 100,000 followers that I used to have. But I get so much done because it's very efficient. I need
Yes.
clothes. You have clothes. Where are you? I'm in town at this coffee shop. Cool. I'll bring it. Like it's specific. It's not worldwide. And then the network, the people I've met in the last year, it's been a little less than a year,
Wow.
has expanded. So like, it's just, for me, I guess I'm doing the good stuff. But also selfishly, it's fun to learn and it's fun to see how can I get more clothes? Like, how can I give people Air Jordans if they want Air Jordans, right? Like, I want to give like some of my homeless friends, like, they're dressed super nice, like to the point where everyone thinks I'm homeless when I'm hanging with them because we've been giving them some good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's it's a fun project. So definitely there is some selfish part of me enjoying learning and trying to build something that I'm not used to building for sure.
What have you learned about the unhoused community since you've been doing this and working closely with them and
Yeah,
having probably deeper conversations about what led them to where they are in
yeah,
life and why? I mean, I've done a couple stories on our local unhoused communities here in
yeah,
Montclair, New Jersey. And although it's not as big as maybe other municipalities, but
yeah,
it's a lot of just job scarcity and mental health,
yep.
lack of services there and support there. And I'm just wondering what you're hearing.
Yeah, I think the mental health stuff, there's certainly people that I hang out with that prefer to be outside and they're kind of like minimalist, like they choose it. A very small percentage, but there are that. And a lot of people that just like have done some stupid stuff and they've lost their community, But it's weird because or not weird, it's cool. Like I went to like we give where I live, there's a free dinner every night of the week. Anyone can come. Mostly it's unhoused people, but anyone can come. And you walk in and they have community. It's like a college cafeteria. They're chatting, they're eating,
Yeah.
everyone's trying, and like we're literally serving them. So we're like waiting on them, giving them food, talking to them and stuff. And they all know each other, and for the most part, look out for each other. There's drama, of course, and you have alcohol and stuff, which makes it bonkers. But for the most part, I was blown away by how much more community they have than probably the outside regular people that are out in the suburbs that don't really get out much,
Right.
and they're just like a few of them. Whereas here, it's like 200 people that all, for the most part, care about each other and help each other. And they're all in the same spot, And there's some people over the years of volunteering where they've gotten a place, they've gotten a home, they're no longer unhoused, but they still come back to be with all their friends, to be in the community, to where
Yeah.
people like talk to them and look them in the eye and have conversations. And sometimes people I don't see in a year and I'm like, where'd they go? And it's
Yeah.
either vacation, which is jail because it's illegal to sleep outside, at least in Virginia, it's crazy. Or they got a house and they're like, I got a job, I got a house and I'm doing good. So I just came back to say hi. So it's very temporary for a lot of people.
Yes.
And I think too, like for me, when I realized like how blessed I was, not even the money stuff, but it was like someone once saw me driving a car and they're like, dude, you didn't tell me you had a car. Like, that's bonkers. Like, where'd you get a car? And I was like, well, I didn't even know what to say. Because like
Yeah.
a car was so massive
Yeah.
for transportation, for sleeping, for so many. And I'm like, I almost said it's just a car, but like I realized what the situation I was in. And that really, really like got me. So,
Wow.
but yeah.
And so you're collecting these clothes. Are you mostly just storing them in your home until you get them away? You
Yeah,
like
so
looking to,
I'm very efficient. I have a garage. I built shelving. I sort everything. And another blogger, I don't know if you know Gwen from Fiery Millennials. She donated a cargo van to me, so I can put everything in the van. I go do these little pop-ups around town. I set up where their people are gathering. They take the clothes. I redonate everything that they don't take, and then I start fresh. So
wow.
I have like thrift store partnerships that give me free stuff. I
Right.
redonate stuff to them. It's a nice circle, and every week I give out probably about 1,500 items. And then
Wow.
another like 2,000 items come in that I have to sort. And again, because I've been getting such nice stuff, all the original stuff I used to give out, like T-shirts with like logos on. No, they don't touch them, right? Like, why would I touch that when I can have like a Coach bag? Like, people give me Coach bags. Like, it's
Wow.
crazy. Like, people, and they
Wow.
all say, I don't want you to make money off of it. I want to give it to the community. I want them to feel special. And I'm very upset with Goodwill. That's like the number one thing I
Very
hear because
upset with Goodwill. What's
everyone is
the
pissed
beef
off at Goodwill.
with Goodwill?
I think like from what I've been told, mostly is their pricing has gone like through the roof. And
Mm,
I even saw this the other day. I was in there because I still shop there,
yeah.
and they had an item that was priced higher than the original price tag on there. And I'm like, if you're gonna charge more, at least like take the old one like
What?
off. Like, it's stupid. But like people that have worked there is like they throw away stuff. They don't. It's
Mm,
just people are very upset with them, and so they want to give it to free to people, which obviously I'm not making any money, but I don't,
yeah.
because of the
So,
freedom is nice.
how
But
do you make money these days?
yeah, I don't make a lot of money. I do consulting every now and then. The blog still makes a little money, but like a couple hundred a month, like nothing
Yeah.
crazy. So I just do what I want to do. And then if I get money, I get money. And if not, I've not. My wife still works. So
Okay.
we have like insurance,
Okay.
and that pays like the regular
Everything.
bills that we have.
Insurance is like
Yeah,
the most
yeah.
expensive thing.
Like when I got a chunk, like I paid off the house. Like we don't have like everything's paid off. So, but with kids now, like everything's
Well,
starting
have
to
you been
climb
thinking about
up.
college and how that's
Oh
gonna?
yeah, you want to talk about your 529 account
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah,
I
let's
know how
do
much
it.
you like
Let's do it.
to.
Let me show
No, when
off.
since they were a baby,
Yeah.
like that week, my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm setting up accounts. That's what I'm doing right
Yeah. So you've
now."
got the 529 accounts. Great.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing is like she loves her job. It's stable ish. And so I'm basically like when I said, all right, I'm gonna quote like stop working, I'll do all the kids, like we'll do appointments, I started grocery shop, like I did all the
Yeah.
things to take away off her plate so she actually liked
Wow.
it. And you know and so now actually the struggle with this closet is now I accidentally gave myself a 40-hour week job with no pay. But now I'm starting to slack on the grocery shopping, the kids stuff I still do. So now I need to like, okay, buddy, like you need
Well,
to either get more efficient or like start changing a little, right? Because you just get sucked in, and then you gotta, pause every now and then.
you just said something that was quite profound. You said,
What?
imagine if I stripped my wife of all of the domestic duties. Maybe she would actually enjoy her job, her actual work out of the house job. And
Yeah,
I've never heard it kind of framed in that way, because
yeah,
often, yeah, it makes sense. If you're juggling a big job and then you've got 20 things to do at home, and then you have your other partner who's just doing their job, right? Because maybe we're
yeah,
following traditional gender roles. I can see where she would opt out of the workforce. It's not just to save money, but it's because she's like, I don't even have time to really like enjoy my day job, right?
yeah,
And feel like I
yeah.
could even grow into that because I have so much like waiting for me at home. Interesting.
Yeah, plus I would just feel like I'm trying not to curse, like a bad guy if I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm just not going to work and I'm just going to go to like coffee shops and go do stuff. And you keep doing all this stuff that, and it's funny,
Yeah.
like the grocery, like I even asked her, I said, what's something now that I have more time, like what is like the one thing that like bothers you?
The Department of Food.
Yeah, yeah, grocery shop. Well, first it was laundry. And
Uh-huh.
I actually enjoy doing laundry, so I took that right away. I do laundry every single day for the whole, for the family. And then she was like, I just hate going to the grocery store. And that one I don't like, but I'm like, okay, well that's like we can do that. But then, I'd make the mistakes. I'd bring the wrong thing home. And then I'm like, oh, because sometimes I would say, why'd you get that? And she's like, well, you go to the grocery store. So
Yeah.
I got to say, well, you go to the grocery
You go to
store.
the grocery store. Yeah. It's important for everyone to experience all the roles.
Yes.
Do you ever do online
Yeah.
grocery shopping though? I have to say it'll save you a lot of time and it'll
She did. It's
really
again because I was trying to be offline for so long. I was like, no, in person everything,
well,
and I don't mind. Like
you know,
I chit chat with everyone.
I really appreciate you coming on the show since you hate being online so much. This is
Sorry.
really making me feel special. If you had to start your blog or your sort of your advice platform in 2026, like
Wow.
what would you do differently? we said earlier that it's not that people don't
Well,
like long form writing. It's just that maybe you got to find a new way to put it in front of them, you know?
I think it's just the way that I started like being passionate about something and just writing unfiltered. It's the unfiltered part, I think, that makes things special, like real life. And, like again, and I knew I was like misspelling and even like the way I was writing, I was like, this is I should go back and polish it up. But it's like just, it's who exactly I was at the time. And just being able to say things just free without stuff, I think is what drew people in. I know for me personally, if I had to start a financial blog from the beginning, it wouldn't take off. It just because I can't, like, I've already lost the magic. But moving that into something else. If you told me I had to start a cologne thing like my son is doing, like I'd be like, all right, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna go in raw, have fun, and I'll try and see if I can beat his views, like as a challenge. Like if it's new, and I think that's the key when you're new into something and you're passionate and you're learning, like you just give all of your effort and it's just authentic. It just feels good. And again, you don't know anything, you're doing stupid stuff. But even stupid stuff, man, people love when I make financial mistakes and I blog about it. They're like, "Thank you." Like, yeah, like this is great. Like it would get way more
I
traffic
feel
than if
so
I'm doing something
seen.
good. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
speaking of, what is your biggest money sort of error, mistake?
I mean, I've bought and sold Bitcoin at the wrong times every single time. And
I,
I
s-
remember someone guest
yeah.
posting in 2010 around there on my blog when Bitcoin was $100. And he's like, everyone, I'm telling you, you're not going to believe me. You need to invest now. This is going to be big, blah, blah. And I remember putting at the end, P.S., like, do what you want. I'm never doing it. Like, I blah here, and I look back and I'm like,
So when did you buy Bitcoin?
oh, I think I bought it when went up to 30,000, and then when I sold it, it was like 20,000.
Ah,
Then it went all the way up to like
60,
80,000 or
80. Yeah.
60. Yeah, and I bought, and then went down. I
Oh,
just I realized that like the looking and timing of the market, right? And I'm an index fund guy, so all my money's
yeah.
in index funds, so I don't have to worry. So it's kind of like the fun side money. But I reiterated to myself, don't do something that you have to keep watching go up and down, like do it for the long haul kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so I eventually got out.
Do you know anyone who made it really big in the financial community, the personal finance community off crypto, like actually, and not just on paper, but they cashed out
They
and
cashed out. No, because I mean, there could be. I don't, and that's what I tell myself to make myself feel better. Even if you bought it 100, you would have sold it at 200 or 300. You wouldn't have gone the whole
you would
entire
never have
way.
thought,
No, no. So I don't know anyone in particular. I mean, all the people that I know that are wealthy online are all index people. Like, as stupid and nerdy as that sounds, but just because you're putting it in and you're just not doing anything with it, and you're just riding it up, up, up for the most part. But that's not the sexy answer. So people, and I try to tell people all the time, just put it in index fund. And like, no, I need to it's like that itch to tinker with it, and like try and and I would tell people, all right, say you double your money. What are you going to do with your money now? Well, I'll invest in a new stock. All right, so you double that money. Oh, well, they're still playing the same long game, but they're trying to do it in little chunks, adding on top of each other, which is so drastically difficult to do, as you know.
why do they think that's the way? Because of the culture, the news making culture, the Wall Street sort of like
Yeah.
all feel
This
good.
might be I got heat by saying this the other day. Like some other schools, they teach financial literacy and stuff, and they do that stock market game. Like, all right, for 1 month, you're going to buy a stock and then you're going to watch it and you're going to learn about the market, which you do learn about. But I think secretly you're learning to like, oh, let me have to time it. And then a month in the market that's so tiny. How can you
A
learn
second.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that's like the major contributor, but that's what I always think now when I think of. And I tell people, I'm like, yeah, fine. Yes, you need more financial literacy in schools, but you have to make it more fun and like not like here's how to budget, here's how to pay off
You need
debt,
to
like
start
here's
a
how to write a
cologne
check.
YouTube. You need to
That's
start a
right. I
cologne
said,
YouTube. Yeah.
call it How to Become a Millionaire. I guarantee every student in that school will sign up, and you still teach them all the stuff, how to budget, right? How to do it. But like in your head, you're like a millionaire, or how do I, yeah, be a
Right.
gamer or influencer for the rest of my life? Like, financial freedom, right? That's why I like I don't know, is the fire movement still a
Oh, it is
movement or?
alive and well.
Okay, good.
However, I think it has evolved, right? So it's broken off into different sects,
Okay.
SECTS. Like
Yeah. Like, wow, it has
Not
changed.
different sexes, but different sex. And like
Yeah.
it's gotten so, it's like pick your flavor if you want to be like a coast fire. So if
Okay.
you heard of that, right? Or there's
Yeah.
like there's just different because it doesn't work. I think increasingly, at least in the last 10 years, people are looking for more um unique personal financial advice, like even more personal. We personal finance 1.0, now we're at like 3.0, where it's like, okay, but what if I'm a single mom whose
Yeah.
parents are Cuban, who like,
Mm.
has to support her aging parents. And also I want to retire by the time I'm 40, but also I want to have two kids and maybe, start a business. It's like, but you know what? There's advice for that person out there,
Yeah.
probably because there's
Probably.
probably like a financial advisor who checks off a lot of those boxes and can show you
Yeah.
their way.
Right.
And I think that is actually quite awesome because when we were starting out, I felt like it was a much smaller community,
Yeah.
awesome people, but I think over the years, thanks to, I know we hate it, but we also love it, social media, it's
Yeah.
allowed for more inclusivity in this space, and I gotta
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, definitely. It is good. I mean, goods and the bads of social media, but there is goods out there.
Do you think you would have sold J Money knowing what you know now? Or would you have wanted to just like, was it a
Yeah,
2 years or 3 years that you were there?
yeah, I would have no, I probably would have sold earlier. I think like you mentioned earlier, like when you go past the point, like I think at the 10-year mark was like the peak where I'm like, this could have like I should have done it right there and I let it linger for a few years. Just because honestly I didn't know what else I would do. I was like,
Yeah.
this is the only thing that like project I've and it's my baby, right? And it wasn't honestly until the Motley Fool came around because I had had offers over the years. And I came really close to selling to one company that was going to merge three different blogs together. One being the Simple Dollar, if you remember them, that
Yes.
used to be the one of OGs.
Yes.
And they're like, we're all going to have columns on this one site. And I came so close to doing it. And I said, no, it just doesn't feel right. And the Motley Fool, their culture was fun and unique. And they're like, look, you built the brand over you. We're not going to strip that from the site because it's you, right?
Right.
And that's the problem of being like say money and my style, you can't just swap someone in. It doesn't work as the same. And we tried doing it to a degree, and so I never ran it as a business. I kind of ran it as a lifestyle blog. I just wanted to make a living having
Right.
fun talking about money. The people that did remove themselves and make it more robotic and robust and turnkey, they made a killing because anyone can run it. It didn't really matter. It was like a whole organization. And I just never, jived with it all. So, yeah, so no, I just would have done it earlier. But I'm slow to change sometimes,
You know what?
especially as we get older.
Yeah, you did it at your own pace, and that's
Yeah,
okay. I am sorry
yeah.
about your Bitcoin. I do.
You have some you'd like to sell me?
That's
Is that
gotta hurt. No, no,
why?
no, I don't. But I appreciate the honesty, and honestly,
Yeah,
more
yeah,
power to index funds. J Money, thank
yeah,
you so much for making time for us on the internet. I
yeah.
know your least favorite place, but we really enjoyed having you on and catching up. Thank you so much.
Yes, and you look more beautiful than you did 10 years
Oh,
ago.
thank
More and
you.
more confident and everything.
It's the
Yay, go
filter.
you.
No,
It's the
I'm kidding.
filter.
Thank you so much.